What is good? JayMike here with another Tech Talk, and today it's time to boss everything. Well, that was simply, I can't do that. That was too cheesy. But today we're going to take a look at the brand new Adidas ACE boots, because not only has January blessed us with the brand new Adidas 16 Plus PureControl, they also just released the ACE16 Primeknit and the ACE16.1. And while these boots might look a bit alike, they're all green, if I might say, and they're all called ACE, they are actually quite different. Laces and everything. So today we're going to take a look at those differences. So stay right here with me. First up, we got the ACE16 Primeknit, which is made with an upper of the knit, Primeknit. But most significantly on the new boot, we have the knitted prime cut ankle sock. And also, as we know from the PureControl and the X Primeknit and the Primeknit 2.0, it also has this knitted compression fit tongue that wraps your foot like a seatbelt to keep it firmly on the plate. Only in this instance, it's called the Control Fit. And also, the Primeknit has laces, which I'm saying like it's some sort of new thing. It's not, but well, it's got laces. Now the 16.1 is perhaps more the true successor to the 15.1, because just as on the old generation, Adidas decided to go with this low-cut synthetic upper made with a thin mesh, then a 3D structure on top, then it's coated with silicone, and they added some non-stop grip dots on top of that to give you as much friction and control and grip on the ball as possible. And it's basically, much hasn't changed from the 15.1. And the big deal is that they decided to streamline the boot a lot more around the midfoot and the heel and remove this sticky, foamy, padded, airy sensation, and instead added a lot of non-stop grip dots in case you want to, control the ball with that area of the boot. Not that I've ever known any player who's done that on a consistent basis, but what do I know? The game is changing. Now, turning our attention to the three new boots, there aren't really that many similarities between the 16.1 and the PureControl apart from the name, the color, and the sole plate. And this is really where the Primeknit comes in as a connection between the two boots, if you will. Because both of the knitted boots are made with two pieces of knit. And looking at the PureControl, the outer piece of knit is, well, everything you see on the boot. And the inner piece of knit is this Control Fit compression construction that runs the entire length of the laceless area, keeping your foot firmly in place on the plate. On the Primeknit, however, the outer shell kind of resembles the shape of the upper on the 16.1. You can kind of see the light green area here. And then the inner construction is once again this Control Fit construction with the tongue that then integrates seamlessly into the prime cut ankle sock. And that means that on the Primeknit boot, you get a bit more of a tight, snug feeling around your ankle compared to the PureControl, especially in the heel. And while the difference isn't as big as it may sound, you get a more free, distractionless sensation in the PureControl, which I also think Adidas intended it to have. So that's something. Now, some of you might also assume that because this is the expensive top dog boot in the ACE line, it's gonna have the thinnest, softest upper of the three. But it's not actually the case. You see, because of the fact that it doesn't have any laces, the whole boot, the whole structure has to do a lot of work to keep your foot in place in the boot, to prevent your foot from sliding around. And that means that the whole knitted upper is a bit stiffer and thicker than it is on the Primeknit boot, simply because not only does the Primeknit boot also have the Control Fit construction to hold your foot down, it also, on top of that, have laces, so the rest of the boot doesn't really have to help out that much in keeping your foot on the plate. Now, looking at the 16.1, it has by far the thinnest upper of the three, especially because it's only really the 3D structure on the toe box that takes up and adds to the thickness. Other than that, it's just mesh and coating. And while it's not really fair to compare it to the knitted uppers, it is not as soft, but it's actually rather soft, and I suspect it's gonna soften up once you break it in, because basically it's the same upper material that we saw on the 15.1. Now that's cool, because that was a good upper, but it perhaps goes to show that Adidas haven't spent as much time innovating on the 16.1 as on the knitted boots. Now, obviously, speaking of innovation, the big deal is that Adidas are moving into the Primeknit ankle sock game, and of course, the fact that the PureControl is laceless. And while it might not be as big of a revolution as Adidas will like us to think because of the laceless Lotto Zero Gravity that was introduced 10 years ago, it is still a very, very big deal because it's the first knitted laceless football boot, really going for that completely unique, pure sensation. But while removing the laces from a knitted boot might give you a really nice, big and clean strike zone and give you this completely free sock-like sensation, it also means compromising a bit on two things: lockdown and the ability to adjust the fit. And while the lockdown in the PureControl is admittedly far better than I expected, also because I partly didn't expect there to be any lockdown at all, laces will always give you more lockdown and keep your foot more securely fastened on the plate than without laces. And also, if you want to adjust the fit, either tighten it or loosen it a bit, you won't really be able to do that without laces, despite the fact that the upper on the PureControl will stretch a little bit. So if you are keeping your eye on the PureControl and want to get it, keep that in mind. Because while it's always important to get the right size, it's really, really freaking important with the PureControl. Because if there is too much room in the boot, you won't really have any laces to bail you out. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is touch. I'm on a roll today, guys. But the touch is really different in the three boots because the 16.1 has a lot of focus on friction and grip on the ball, whereas the PureControl puts its emphasis on this completely pure, clean striking surface. And the Primet comes in kind of in the middle with a soft, structured knitted upper with non-stop grip dots. So there is a bit for everyone, which is good if you want to go the control way. And also, last thing that they do have in common is the sole plate with conical studs to give you a decent amount of grip and maneuverability, so you can spin around in midfield. So wrapping it up, all of these three boots are actually top tier models, and just because the PureControl is more expensive doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best boot for you. Because all of these are just different options, so you can choose freely if you want an ACE boot for control. Me? I actually gotta say, I think they're all really, really decent options. And while I love the clean striking surface on the PureControl, I think I'm gonna go for the 16 Plus Primeknit. Because, well, I still like my laces, and the fit, the snug fit and the height of the Primeknit ankle sock is just, it's really, really good, and I have high hopes for that. But which of the boots on the table are for you? You should let me know in the comment section below. And yes, guys, don't worry, I will make the inevitable comparison with the Nike Flyknit boots. Of course, but all in due time, because now it's time to say goodbye. Signing off. Cheerio.